Mark Taylor was this black kid who in second grade, his parents had divorced and he became sort of a big bully for a while. He was all upset about that. And he beat the crap out of me. He was much larger than me at the time and stronger. And I called him a nigger. And I wrote this poem, Nigger, about it. And it's interesting because I told you how like certain things that I did, some moments of shame. That's another moment of shame that I had, and it wasn't as a a moment of shame as like with the girl and the John Doe character or with the serial killer character, uh, but it was a personal moment of shame because my dad was never a bigot and he had instilled that into me. But I used the word as a way to hurt Mark Taylor because he had physically hurt me. And I remember him looking at me, and I used his eyes naked burning, which was a cliche that because of the moment there, and because I'm writing it from the point of view as a child, I kept, which is a questionable choice possibly. But the important thing is, years later, when I met Mark Taylor, or I haven't met him again physically, when I interviewed him for my Omniverska show, and we kept in touch, and we've talked on the phone probably a dozen or so times over the last 12, 15 years. And I told him about the poem, and I told him about that moment, and it was big to me. It was a moment that I always felt I failed myself. He didn't remember it at all. And this is one of the things in his memoirs, something that's important to me. So, and here's a black person you'd think, having his, then I guess I could say we were best friends at the time, calling him a nigger would have scarred him perhaps, but he didn't remember it. And and he didn't remember this, and yet it meant more to me, the white kid who uttered it, than to him. And this is one of the where a lot of these memoirs go off track, is that they ascribe things to people, or they try to make things bigger than they naturally did. I think I talk about this in the memoir. If I don't, I know I've written about it somewhere in one of the memoirs or whatnot. But the very fact that something that was a big moment of shame in my life, especially because my dad was so open-minded in an age filled with more rampant bigotry than even today, uh, and that it didn't affect the person that I had aimed it at, is something that's an object lesson in not thinking too much of yourself and not thinking too much of your life and how it affects other people, because you can't really know how it affects other people.